Alright guys, today we are talking Rise of the Resistance and what it's going to take to get you on there and have a successful trip on Rise of the Resistance at Disney's Hollywood Studios. This is one of the most anticipated rides, and therefore it's been very difficult for some guests to get on this ride. So I've got some tips and tricks for you to help you have a better experience and get you on this ride. So let's get into it right now. Thanks for watching. Please hit that like and subscribe button for me. Alright guys, so Disney's Hollywood Studios is home to Rise of the Resistance, which is one of the most anticipated rides to come out in a very long time. So if you're a Star Wars fan, it's amazing. If you're not a Star Wars fan, it's still amazing. It's very immersive. If you guys want to check out the video of what the ride actually is, I have that video posted. I'll put a link to it here. So this video is going to be about what you can do to help yourself get on that ride easier, better, and some tips and tricks and some stuff that you may not know that might help you out. Alright, so the Rise of the Resistance, one of the problems with Rise of the Resistance is there's not an actual line. So if you just go there without any plan, there's no way that you can just walk on and wait in line. Doesn't matter if you want to, if you're okay with waiting in line 9-10 hours like some of the people did for like Hagrid's, you can't do that here. You have to be in a digital queue, and once the digital queue is full, that's it. No more people getting on the ride. So with that being said, let's look at some numbers. 30,000 people go to that park daily, especially on busy days. Obviously there's going to be more, and on less busy days there's going to be less. So the less people that are at that park, the better chance you have of getting into a good boarding group. With that being said, let's say around 30,000 people averagely visit the park a day. Only 17,000 people currently are getting on the ride daily. And that's probably perfect world scenario. It's probably a little less than that. So that means half the people, if you look around the park where you're at right now, half the people that you see are not going to have an opportunity to get on that ride. With that being said, if you are not an annual pass holder and you don't have the opportunity to go back to this park all the time and you're here on vacation, I would suggest that you plan on going to that park a few times during your vacation just to try to get on a boarding group. So if you plan for Hollywood Studios for one day and you go there one day and you don't get into a boarding group that day, you're going to be disappointed. However, with the boarding group system, if you get into a boarding group, you can leave the park, go do whatever you want, go to another park, and then come back once your boarding group's called. So you go into the park at 8 a.m. You have no fast passes booked there. You have fast passes booked at Animal Kingdom. You go right to the front of the park, you scan in with your group, you get into a boarding group, let's say boarding group 55. You immediately leave the park, go to Animal Kingdom, go do all your fun stuff in Animal Kingdom. When group 55 gets called, they're going to send you a notification on the app. You have 2 hours to get from Animal Kingdom back to Hollywood Studios to ride Rise of the Resistance, and then you go on with your day. So it would be great if you could get on the ride during your day at Hollywood Studios, but that's not always going to be the case. So I would plan on going to Hollywood Studios for rope drop, which would be 8 o'clock currently, until you can get on Rise of the Resistance. That's going to help you out. And just in case you don't get on, you've already planned to do it. Now, if you get on the first day you go, awesome. You don't need to go back. It's perfect. With that being said, I got some tips for you. First, a lot of people are going to the park very, very early. There's no advantage to going to the park any earlier or later. As long as you're in the park by 8 o'clock, it really doesn't matter. Now, if you're trying to rope drop a certain ride at that park, so let's say Smuggler's Run or Slinky Dog Roller Coaster, going there a little early will be better, because as people come in, they are letting you into the park and they're putting you into a staging area. One side goes over to Toy Story Land, the other side goes over to Galaxy's Edge. That's going to back up lots of people. So the later you get there, the further back you're going to be. So when the rope does drop at about 8:07, 8:05, people are going to run over to their respective rides, whatever that may be. And the further back you are, the longer it's going to take you to get in there. So that's the really only advantage to getting there early. So me, Nicole, and Ethan usually show up at the park about 7:40-ish. We go through security, we check into the park, and that still gives us usually about 5 to 10 minutes to kind of walk around and meander. We usually head over towards Toy Story Land area because there's some stuff over there we like to do, so that's usually where we're at. So once you're in the park, don't open your app. Don't be messing with the app. Wait till right before 8 o'clock. So I suggest around 7:59, that's when you actually open the app. So you're gonna get onto My Disney Experience, you're gonna open the app. When you open the app, you're gonna see where it says more info about Rise of the Resistance. So you're gonna click on that tab and it's gonna bring you to where you can join a boarding group. That join a boarding group button will be grayed out until 8 o'clock. And even at 8 o'clock, because we've had some people freak out and they get all mad. At 8 o'clock, when you go to join a boarding group, if it's still grayed out, that doesn't mean that you didn't get a boarding group. You need to back out and then go back in, and then back out and then go back in. You're gonna keep repeating that until that join a boarding group button shows up red. Once it shows up red, you're gonna hit it as quickly as you can. That means you're in a boarding group, and then you can add your people, and then it'll give you your number of which boarding group you're actually on. So, boarding group numbers. Typically, they're getting to around 100. On some days they're getting pretty far past 100, and on other days they're not getting quite to 100, but around 100 is kind of average. So with all that being said, depending on the number that you're in, you can kind of guesstimate about where you're going to be, and this is obviously going to depend on how many times a ride goes down or what happens during the day. But like, let's say you're in groups 1 to 40. 1 to 40 is probably going to be, obviously 1 is going to be right first thing, but 1 to 40 is going to be in that like before 2 or 3 o'clock range. After that, you're just going to be later in the afternoon. Obviously, if you have boarding pass like 100, like me and Nicole were 109 a couple weeks ago. 109 got on at 7:15, I believe it was. So that should give you a little bit of perspective of kind of where you stand. You're not guaranteed a spot on the ride. If the ride goes down for hours and hours and hours, you're not guaranteed a spot unless I believe you're groups 1 to 60. So if you're in groups 1 to 60 and the ride goes down, you don't actually get on it, like let's say it goes down for the day, which I've never seen, but let's say that happens, they would give you a fast pass. If you're outside of that 1 to 60, you're just kind of out of luck. Sorry, you didn't make it. So, you know. But if you follow my tips, I believe you'll get on. It's not a guarantee. You don't always get on. I mean, we've gone over 4 times and been able to get on all 4 times with different boarding groups. 33 was the lowest, but it just depends on how quick you are. Okay, so one of the tips I can tell you is if you're going over with multiple people, it's actually an advantage. So what you do is you get all the people that are in your group. Let's say there's 4 of you guys. All 4 of you are going to open the app. With the app open, you're all 4 going to try to join a boarding group, and whoever gets into that boarding group first can add the people. So that gives you 4 shots at getting into a boarding group rather than just 1 shot if you're by yourself. So if you're with multiple people, it's in your best interest to have everybody on the app trying to get on. It just seems to work better. That's what me and Nicole did. I had me on the app, her on the app. I happened to get on it first one time. She got on it first the next time. So it just kind of works out that way if you have multiple phones. Like I said, do not open the app before like 7:59, and then you're going to keep going back and forth between the 2 apps. If you just stay in that join a boarding group screen, it's not just going to turn red automatically for you. You got to keep going back and forth. A lot of people were asking me about DAS. Yes, this ride does have DAS, and what you have to do for it is you still have to be in a boarding group. So if you just show up to the park, let's say later on in the afternoon, you don't have a boarding group, you cannot DAS this ride. But if you're in a boarding group, when your boarding group number gets called, you can go see a cast member and they will put you in DAS. What that means is instead of waiting in the line, which is around 40 to 50 minutes to get onto the ride, you'll go through the fast pass line and you won't have to wait in that line. So that's pretty much the DAS process there. They're going to bring you through the fast pass line. It's a small little cave area, and then it brings you right to the line. You don't have to do the weave and bob through the cave. The line, like I said, it's about 40 to 50 minutes. It's air conditioned to the max. It's amazing in there. So in the summertime, that line's probably not going to be a bad place to be. You'll be pretty happy about that. The line's got some cool stuff in it. I wouldn't say it's Avatar cool, but it's still pretty cool. It's definitely worth seeing the line. You know, it's not one of those lines where you're just like, God, when is this going to end? There's actually cool stuff in each room that you go to, so that's kind of cool. All right, so we've been over DAS, we've been over the line, we've been over how to use the app and what to do with the app. I've had a lot of questions about, is this ride okay for me? Am I going to be okay on it as far as if you have motion sickness or anything like that? Okay, so I wanted to go over a few things. First of all, if you've been on Star Tours or like Spider-Man or Transformers or anything like that, it's similar to that. It's definitely less jerky than Star Wars and Transformers and a lot of the other rides. It's on a trackless system. It's pretty smooth. There are a few small areas where it kind of moves you around, jerks you around a little bit, but as far as that goes, it's not too bad. As far as being immersive, it is super immersive. You feel like you're actually on a ship. When you get off of that transport ship and you're standing there in front of all the stormtroopers, it's amazing. It's just breathtaking. The job they did in there is fabulous. The ship looks great. The cast stays in character. I would suggest that once you get near the ride, like once you get off the transport ship, there's going to be some buttons like where the doors are for the cast members. Don't be banging on the doors and buttons, because we have had cast members that have actually apparently removed people from this ride. So some of the buttons that are in this ride look like they're part of the like ambiance of the ride, but they're actually buttons for cast members to be able to open and close doors. And we've had cast members ask people to stop touching the buttons, and people just think that the cast members are in character and they're not going to stop touching the buttons, and they've been removed from the ride. So I would suggest you don't do that. Like I said, yes, the buttons, you know, should be there for you to touch, but there are certain buttons that just aren't for you, so it's better just to not be in there banging on stuff. Or if a cast member tells you to stop, you should probably stop. It's probably one of the buttons that they don't want you messing with. So that is pretty cool. So if you don't have motion sickness or anything like that, or you've been on other rides, this ride's not going to be an issue for you. There is a drop at the end. A lot of people are worried about the drop. It's nil. It's if you've been on Pirates of the Caribbean, the small drop at Pirates of the Caribbean, it's similar to that. I wouldn't consider it a thrill ride drop. It's nowhere near Tower of Terror drop, nothing like that. But it is pretty cool. It adds to the ride. It's pretty neat. And it is at the very end. You'll be getting into the drop ship, and it drops out of the bottom of the big ship, and that's kind of when you know you're going to drop. So, all right. So I hope this helped you guys get on Rise of the Resistance. I hope you enjoy Rise of the Resistance. I hope everything works out for you. Please hit that like and subscribe button for me. Leave me comments below and let me know if I helped you get into a boarding group or not, and let me know what boarding group you guys got into. I'm always interested to see what numbers you guys got and see how well you did versus how well I did. Let me know what you guys thought of the ride. And like I said, I hope you guys enjoy this, and let me know if there's any other videos you guys want to see, and hit that like and subscribe button for me, guys. Thanks.
Down this way, guys, down this way.
Back up.
You're still here? Watch
out, dude.
Get to the escape pods now. Lieutenant Beck, we need to find him away.
Recoltos, para su seguridad, permanezcan sentados.
Supervise your children. Tell them it's a prisoner transfer. Did it work? Good. Now get a move on. There's a clear path to the turbo lifts at the end of the hallway. Turn right. A probe droid. You're lucky it didn't spot you. Take those turbo lifts and stay out of trouble.
Hey, you're not authorized. Wait, it goes to the prisoner.
Your cover is blown. Find an alternate route. Who picked these two droids anyway?